us. I hope we have a lot of virtual attendees.
We do, yeah.
This is a distinct pleasure and honor for us to host one of our curators, Dr. Bob Fry, who is a friend of the medical school and a friend of UMKC's, and we're grateful for that. Dr. Fry was appointed to the University of Missouri Board of Curators by Governor Mike Parson in April 2023. Dr. Fry graduated from the University of Missouri Kansas City School of Dentistry in the top 1% of his class. Dr. Fry served as a captain in the U.S. Army at Fort Hood, Texas from 1973 to 75. After serving in the Army, he attended the University of North Carolina, where he received his Master's of Science degree in Orthodontics. In 1977, Dr. Fry began his private practice in the Kansas City area. Dr. Fry, how many locations are there now?
24.
24 locations. And Dr. Fry gives full credit to his son, Jeremy, who joined him in 2006 for much of that expansion. Dr. Fry is a humble person. Dr. Fry formerly held the position of adjunct clinical professor of orthodontics at the University of Southern California, New York University, and the University of the Pacific School of Dentistry. He served as the president of the Kansas Dental Association in 1987. In 2002, he received the Martin L. Bud Schulman Award for highest achievement in the orthodontic profession. Dr. Fry has an expansive mind. He is an innovative, creative person. He has chosen to tell us and to teach us about personal financial management. Hopefully, this is the first of many lectures we'll have on finance and on budgeting. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Fry.
Thank you.
Sir.
Yeah, there we go. All right. All right, well, Dean Norbish, thank you very much for that very kind introduction. It's better than the one I got at the Chamber of Commerce last week. The guy introduced me as a small appliance salesman. So in any event, it's good to be with you all and good to have all of you all online. Zoom is a wonderful thing. My wife is still teaching all over the world thanks to Zoom. So I introduced myself as her trophy husband. I've been retired since 2010. But it's good to have you here. And I just want to send a shout out to Dr. Norbish. He's done a great job in coming up with this concept of introducing medical, nursing, dental, and pharmaceutical students to business management. And it's a very unusual idea. And I want to thank him, and I want to acknowledge you for that. So we are going to charge ahead here. And I just want to give a couple of disclaimers. I don't have any financial interest in anything mentioned here today. I will repeat myself repeatedly. And you all got handouts, I think. Everybody get those, I hope. Okay, if you didn't, we can get them to you. So I'm going to ask, please, if we could hold our questions till the end. We're going to talk for an hour and a half. We'll take a 10-minute break and then come back. And I have no pressing social engagements, so I'd be happy to stay till breakfast if you have enough questions. So if we could hold our questions pretty much to the end. Okay. We have an echo. Okay, all right. Yeah. This lecture was designed primarily for the dental profession, so there's some of the stuff I'm presenting here probably won't be totally germane to medical, dental, and nursing, or medical and pharmacy. There will be a test at the end. If you see any typos, please stop and point them out to me. And evaluations, if you all could take a picture of this with your phone, Dean Norbish and I would like to have some feedback about this presentation, and please be brutal. We need to know exactly what you all want to hear. And so if you could just go do this QR code, and as we're doing the lecture, if a thought pops in your mind, jot it down on that QR code. Now, I'm going to have this at the end as well for late arrivals. So this is our schedule for today. I've tried to jam a 6-hour lecture into an hour and a half. So buckle up, we're gonna move fast. We'll talk for about an hour and a half, and then we'll take a 10-minute break, and then we will come back after that for questions as long as you want. So this is my family. My wife to your right, my wife of 55 years, Mary. As I said, she's still working and I'm not, so that's great. My 3 nearly perfect grandchildren, granddaughter in the middle and the back is at the University of North Carolina studying marine biology. Her mom's right in front of me. Our middle granddaughter is at Boise State. She wants to be a vet. My son Jeremy, who took over the practice in 2010, I still am involved a little bit, but not much. So, and my daughter Whitney, who's in front of her brother. Whitney's in the Mother Teresa business. She's lived in some garden places all over the world, West Darfur, Sudan, Egypt, Israel, Somalia, Afghanistan. So she's I'm real proud of her. She has a doctorate in international public health. And then my grandson in the back, there's still some hope he might yet graduate. We'll keep our fingers crossed. So my granddaughter, animals just love her, and we're sitting on the back porch of our family retreat, and this bird just comes and lands on her shoulder, and she and her father raised bees, so they had matching tattoos put on the inside of their arms. So I like powerful equipment, and I tell my wife, these things are making us money. She knows it's a lie. She just goes out and buys more shoes. So I love big, powerful machines, and my grandkids know how to run all those things. So, and I am really almost an expert at getting stuck. I am a pro at getting heavy machines stuck. So, or turning them over in a ditch. This 44,000-pound bulldozer, we had to call in a track hoe to dig me out. And he says, you got to really work at it to get one that's stuck. But I'm really good at that. So as I said, my kids know how to run these powerful machines. So my daughter was home from one of her tours overseas, and she said, nobody believes I know how to run a skid steer. Will you take some pictures of me? I said, sure. So she wanted to prove to her people in, I think it was Kenya when she was living at the time. And so she's driving this thing, and she says, well, Dad, you want me to take some pictures of you? I'm the family photographer, so at Christmas, I get no pictures. But she said, well, let me take some pictures of you. I said, well, that'd be fine. So I had this pile of brush I wanted to move from this side of the creek to that side of the creek. So I pull this thing up, and ooh, macho, right? So you would think that somebody who makes their living every day with moments and torques and tips and forces would have known better. So this is some indication of the intelligence of your speaker this evening. So when I was making retirement noises in 2010, the family got really nervous, said, oh my God, Dad's going to be around bugging us all the time. And so we really need to find something for him to do. Let's get him a John Deere tractor and build a family retreat. Well, in the finest tradition of all family retreats, it sat empty about 98% of the time. So we've now turned all of that ground and that lodge into charity. So this you can see here is, we do a lot of work with Missouri disabled sportsmen, veterans, first responders, kids events, ladies events. And so it's called Duckhorn Outdoors Adventures. And between that and the other things I'm doing since retirement, it keeps me very busy. So it's right in Urich, Missouri, almost invisible little town on 7 Highway. So just last weekend, we had the UMKC Baja buggy team down at our place. And we're actually building them some ramps with that big bulldozer that you saw earlier. And they're going through mud. They like mud and all that kind of stuff. So we're building them some turns so they can test and run their machines. So this is them down there building their carts, and they like to have a testing ground. And you see the guy in the lower right-hand picture. Anybody recognize him? Dean Truman. Yes, that's right. When he rides that stupid little, whatever you call that thing around, and I fear for his life. But since retirement, I've been real involved in the Missouri Department of Conservation. I sit on their foundation. It's the fundraising arm for Missouri Department of Conservation. The Governor Parsons had a lapse in judgment in 2023 and appointed me to be a curator. And I am kind of the UMKC guy on the Board of Curators, and I'm very proud of that. My wife and I are both very proud and grateful graduates of UMKC. So back to Duckhorn, there's a little town called Creighton, Missouri, which is real close to Duckhorn. It's about a good softball throw away. And we're thrilled tonight to have the most famous resident from Creighton, Missouri, to chat with us, and that is this pretty lady right here, Amanda Davis, who's head of development, all of development for UMKC. So Amanda, come up and say what you want to do. I want to tell you at the beginning, and I want to be sure that you all know how you're the blessed of the blessed being with this great university. And I want you to remember your grew-up family. Always stay involved. And Amanda's going to tell you some ways of you can continue to be involved with UMKC.
Yeah, can everybody hear me? Yeah, it sounds like it's pretty loud. Okay. So this presentation that Bob's giving, I wish I had heard this at my age or at your all's age. Not a lot of financial planning advice do they give to sociology and English majors, which was what I was. I got my undergraduate degrees from Mizzou, and I got my graduate degree from UMKC, and I just sort of stumbled onto this place and had such an amazing education that I ended up dedicating my professional life to raising money and doing nonprofit management. And a few years ago, when I was in Oklahoma, for no good reason really, neither my husband nor I have family there, we were just working there, and this job opportunity came up. It was very difficult for me not to have my head turned, because I'd always wanted to come back home to UMKC and to apply whatever talents and skills I've learned over the 25 years that I've been doing this kind of work to this place that has given me so much. So like Bob, I have a very strong affection for UMKC, and I'm very, very proud to be part of the staff, and very proud to serve the deans and the curator in the room. Just wanted to let you know that I'm the foundation president and chief advancement officer. That means that I run all the fundraising programming and alumni relations programming for the university, as well as taking care of our charitable investments through the UMKC Foundation. And it may be a few years in the distance for you, but there will probably come a point when you'll have a similar impulse to give back, and you'll recognize what this place has done for you. And when that time comes, we are here to help you engage with the university as an alumnus through volunteer activities, through service, and then also, if you're moved to do so, through philanthropy, which can also have tax benefits. And I think Bob will probably cover a lot of that, as I remember him covering in presentations that he's been kind enough to give to our staff. But he just wanted me to come here so that you could put a face with a name. I've got some materials out on the table for those who are in the room with us. For those who aren't, we can probably get some digital links to those and be able to provide those to you separately, so that you can explore what it is that we do and how we support students and the schools at UMKC. But thank you again, Bob, for having me. I'm very pleased to be here. And ordinarily I'd be coming at the end of the presentation, but Bob was kind enough to let me talk to you in the beginning so that I can go have girls' night with my 17-year-old daughter, who will soon be in your shoes, I hope.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for that. Thanks for all you do for UMKC. That's terrific. Well, financial independence. It's critical. Money is such an important part of our life, and the research is pretty clear. People that are financially sound are happier, and they're better employees. They do better work. So, a study I've read recently about taboo topics for good public discourse. Which one of those would you pick as the most taboo topic? If you picked any of them, you would be wrong. It is money. Money is a taboo topic. For some reason, we don't like to talk about money. So remember the old Westerns, your money or your life. Now, you guys are too young to remember the old spaghetti Westerns and stuff, but I choose to say your money and your life. If you talk about money in a professional relationship, well, you're going to the devil. But that's just not true. You need to be financially sound. So I finished my orthodontic residency, and I went back to school and got a CFP. See in the far right-hand corner? CFP is Certified Financial Planner. Now, why would somebody who didn't like school and really wasn't very good at it, why would I spend another 2.5 years to become a certified financial planner? I'm going to tell you why. Because when I was in my residency at North Carolina, my fellow residents were going to the beach. And I was more interested in financial planning stuff. And I heard a statistic that I could not believe. What % of medical dental professionals can actually afford to retire at age 65? And now it's 66. And it's less than 10%. Oh, that can't be true. So my son heard this data, and he's now on the faculty at UMKC in the orthodontic department. By the way, he was just named the faculty member of the year for the orthodontic department here at UMKC. So, and he said that can't be. So he did some research, and it's now closer to 5% of medical dental professionals who can afford to retire at age 66. So the most emotional issue in your life is money. And I remember when I came home from football practice my senior year in high school, the only thing we had to eat in the house was peanut butter. Now, I like peanut butter, and I obviously didn't starve. But I used to listen to my parents fight over money. And I promised to myself, my future wife, my future kids, my future grandkids, that I would never let money destroy my family. So I got a CFP degree, and I'm now a Ramsey instructor, and we do a lot of work with not-for-profits now, and we help our staff. We want our staff at Fry Orthodontics to be financially literate. Financially literate employees tend to do better in the workplace. So this is my goal. I'd like to see you do your own financial plan. Do I really think a lot of you are going to become your own financial planners? Probably not, but at least I want you to understand your financial plan and manage your lifestyle. That's the biggest problem. All of you, medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, nursing, you're all going to make gobs of money. You're going to be in the top 1% of earners. By the way, what hourly wage would you have to be in the top 1% of earners in the world? Anybody want to guess? $16.43 an hour puts you in the top 1% of earners worldwide. So, some people call me cheap, miser. I choose to think of myself as frugal. And this is the biggest problem most professionals have. It's not the income side, it's the expense side. So I'm a big fan of Warren Buffett's. One of his fraternity brothers actually introduced me to him and Charlie Munger quite a few years ago. And I'm a big fan of his writings and teachings, and I follow a lot of what he professes. And in this, you'll see him referred to a number of times. So we're going to talk about these 4 topics. So I'm in the process of writing a textbook, and I'm about finished with it. I'll make sure you all get a copy of it when I'm finished. It's actually kind of a short book. Actually, it's 2 pages. The first page says, make more than you spend. Second, spend less than you make. The end. I thank you all for coming. You are dismissed. It's just about that simple. So lifestyle management is the biggest problem with financial security. So how many watch Landman? That's kind of a fun series if you haven't done that. In that, the Landman says, my daddy told me early on, you have to do 1 or 2 things. You either have to be very good at balancing a checkbook, or you have to make enough money where it doesn't matter. And I submit to you, you want to do both. You want to make enough money and be very good at balancing a checkbook. This is Warren Buffett's home. Now, this is the second home for him. I drove by his home. I've been to Omaha several times, and his first home was a little bitty old brownstone, very small, 3-bedroom, and he lived in that. He drove himself to work. He's one of the top 5 wealthiest guys perhaps in the world. And this is an upgrade, but it's still a very modest home. And he says, I don't care what others think. And that's a good approach. You don't care. Lifestyle management. We're going to talk about cars. Cars are a problem for most medical dental professions. We're going to talk about offices, credit cards. Giving back is important. Becoming involved in the community. live and travel through your corporation. And homes are bad investments. I'm going to say that 10 times in this presentation. Your home is going to become a bad investment. If you do a true ROI, a return on investment on what you paid for your home and what it's cost you over the years, homes in general are bad, bad investments. So, okay, you've worked hard, you graduated, and by golly, I deserve a Mercedes. So, and I felt like I deserved a Mercedes if I wanted one. And so one of the other staff members at Fry Orthodontics drove that little Chevy Tracker. Who drove the Tracker? I did. One of our other staff members had a Mercedes, and that's okay. I don't care what others think. I want to get from A to Z and back. And I've got to have four-wheel drive because I'm in a lot of mud, as you now know. So one of our associates said, well, don't you think people are going to look at you driving that tractor and think you're not doing very well? I don't care. So for my 70th birthday, my children decided I needed a new car. I never buy new cars. So they went out with my money, of course, and bought me this new $42,000 Jeep. I've never spent that much money on a vehicle in my life. I took one look at it, and I said to my grandson, I said, Moose, this thing needs some mud. So within an hour, that Jeep, brand new Jeep, was covered with mud. So get married and stay married. Good research from Ohio State University, that people who get married and stay married have 4 times the net worth of people who get divorced. And my wife, that you've already met, of 55 years, she's still working, and I'm very proud of her. She's kind of at the top of her game. But get married and stay married. That is a key. And statements you're going to need. I want to go through these pretty quick. A balance sheet is just where we are now. What are my debts? What are my assets? That tells you where you are now. An income and expense statement is what happened in the past. What did I spend and what did I bring in? And looking to the future is a budget. Budget's the problem. When my wife and I were first married, we had a negative net worth for the first 10 years of our marriage. And we used an envelope system. We worked with cash. And so we budgeted very, very tightly. Budgeting myths. It takes a lot of time. It doesn't. It's boring. Okay, I'll concede it's probably pretty boring. It requires some math, yes. Is this thing off now?
It's on.
Oh, it's on, okay. And I can do it in my head. Yeah, the answer is you probably can do budgeting in your head, but you know what? You won't. So put it to pencil. If you think it, ink it. So strategy for saving money. Lunch is out. Don't go out and eat lunch every day. Cable TV. It's a waste of time. Unused gym memberships. And Starbucks. Oh, my God. Let's see. I'll have a cafe mocha latte with Valium and a little dose of meth. Can you do that for me? Yes, sir, right away. $32. Go buy a Keurig. You don't need a Starbucks every morning. So, statements you will need. I've included in your handouts, please do your family a favor and let them know where your stuff is. One of my neighbors, I included this in your handouts. One of my neighbors, very distinguished orthopedic surgeon, world famous almost, and he had business deals going all over the world. Well, Roger died of a massive cerebral hemorrhage, and his finances were a total mess. 2 years after his passing, he was one of my neighbors, and I saw his wife, and I said, Trish, did you ever get Roger's finances straightened out? Yes, several $1 million, and 2 years later it took me to get his finances straightened out. And alcohol was involved in her next statement, where she said, I wish I could bring him back to life so I could kill him. So do your family a favor and get your finances in order. So, financial team, legal, you need a will. If you die intestate, that's without a will. It creates massive problems for your family. And I heard somebody say that, well, okay, if you don't have a will, don't worry. The government will do it for you. You want the government doing this for you? It's got to go through probate. It creates massive problems, and the government's going to get a whole big chunk of your money if you don't let your people know where you want your assets to go. A living will, they're state-specific. What do you want to happen if you become brain dead? A power of attorney for financial affairs and for health care. Now, my wife is in charge of financial management. I wouldn't have my son do that because he has a black belt in spending. But now for health care, I don't want my wife in charge of my health care decisions because she would spend the last farthing I've earned on my flatline body to keep me alive. So my son's in charge of my health care decisions. Now the problem with Jeremy is, oh, Dad's got a hangnail, got to put him down. We don't want him to suffer. So, insurance. You do need insurance, but my guess is most of you are going to have way more insurance and different kind of what you need. Develop an insurance philosophy. Mine is I only insure that which I cannot afford to self-insure. And so do I have any collision on my cars, on that nice new Jeep? I don't. If it's wrecked, well, if I can, I'll go and buy another one tomorrow. So I don't need that kind of insurance. So risk management, there's several types of management. Income disability. For most of you, it's cheap at your age. Get as much disability insurance as you can. And in the handouts, I put a very clever way. You can have this deducted. You can run it through your practice, but you have to do it a year after, so you're not disabled. So you can pay for it. Business interruption insurance. If you only have one office, you probably need some business interruption insurance. Life insurance. There's multiple types of life insurance. Which of those do you want? You want term life insurance. You want to buy insurance only. Never, ever buy from your college roommate or your brother-in-law any type of whole life or annuity insurance. Never, ever do it. The return on those is absolutely disastrous. So, my wife said, we got some limbs up on our roof. I'm going to get a bid for what that. Okay, fine. $1,200. What? $1,200? Well, listen, I know how to run a chainsaw. So I got my chainsaws from the lodge and I went up on the roof. So now remember the three apples? Chintzy, miser, frugal. It was none of those. This was stupid. But as you'll learn, I'm not the brightest bulb on the chandelier. So health insurance. You do not want first dollar coverage. You want more of a major medical plan. Self-insure at least some of it. And you got to have a major medical plan for this next thing, and that's a health savings account. I'm going to say it multiple times. A health savings account is the best investment you can possibly make for your family. The money goes in tax-free, and it comes out tax-free. It is the best investment you can ever make. Protecting your assets, home. Well, they're going to try to get you to buy 90% coverage on your home. You don't want that. I insure my home for about 50%. The research is clear that, if you have a fire, you can still recover about half of your home. Business liability insurance, auto insurance. I have a lot of liability insurance. An umbrella insurance policy is one that covers you when everything else fails. And if we want to get into a black belt lecture on trusts and wills and family living partnerships, things like that, I'll have to come back and do that. But there are a number of ways to protect yourself against risk. You do not need any of these types of coverage. Is that clear? Do not get any of these. Aflac, you do not need Aflac. So choosing an accountant, interview several of them. An accountant is very, very important. They're going to determine how aggressive you can be in deducting things from on your tax return. So how do you rate yourself on 1 to 10? Okay, you have a car. How much are you going to let me deduct on my car? Are you concerned about being disciplined by the IRS? And so I haven't owned a personal vehicle in 50 years. They're all through the farm or through the business. And I write them off, every one, 100%. And I've been audited, and they let it fly because I have a home and office. You can write them off 100%. If your accountant will let you do that, bye. So I had a good friend of mine who was an accountant. I said, okay, Steve, I know you're worried about being disciplined by the IRS. That's never happened, by the way. It just doesn't happen. How about if you do what I tell you to and deduct the things I tell you to deduct, and you just don't sign my return? Oh, then that was fun. He got a big kick out of that. And he was starting to deduct things that even I was nervous about. So who do most accountants work for? The IRS. They really do not have your best interest at heart, most of them. And so you have to be sure. They are frightened about one thing with filing a very aggressive return. What are they afraid of if they file an aggressive return? You can prove to them that you have to do something really, really crazy, stupid to get any discipline from the IRS. What is your accountant afraid of if he files a very aggressive return? He is afraid of you. And you have to assure your accountant that I will not be a crybaby. If I'm audited and I have to pay penalties, fine. I'm not going to be a crybaby. We'll go back and do the same thing next year. So he has to be sure that you're not going to come back and accuse him. Well, you forced me to do that, so you pay these penalties and all that kind of stuff. So, choosing a banker. Again, bankers are your best friend in good time and your worst friend in bad time. So ask them about overdraft fees, credit cards. Get a credit card from your bank. You can get one back. And ask them about emergency funds. Can you get a line of credit for emergency funds? We'll talk about that more later. Ask their advice on home purchases. Get a line of credit and start your home loan for them. You can get home loans cheaper, but start it with them. Just throw them a little business. And send them a Christmas card. This is my son's banker in the middle there. My son's to the left, and his banker, they were down diving for lionfish. Get to know your banker really, really, really well. Cash flow. Never borrow for lifestyle. When we were first married, we had a little dog, a little toy poodle, called him Yankee Poodle. And I needed to put a fence in the backyard. And so I was going to go out and finance a fence. And wait a minute, that's stupid. I can do this myself. So don't borrow money for lifestyle. So Thanksgiving Day, I got post hole diggers and a couple of friends, and we built that thing. And then I hit a power line. So again, not a great sign of intelligence. So never borrow for lifestyle. Emergency funds. I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. If you can take Dave Ramsey's course, it's awesome. And if there's a difference between what I say and what he says, do what Dave Ramsey says. But baby steps. He wants you to have $1,000 liquid sitting in a bank for an emergency fund. I differ with him. I think you want to talk to your banker about having a line of credit and get it before you need it. So you agree to go with the bank, get $5,000 line of credit instead of having $5,000 sitting there in the bank. We have two epidemics in this country. One is affluenza, keep up with the Joneses. And so the second one is credititis. We have a problem with credit. And so getting out of debt. Dave Ramsey's big about getting out of debt. And he wants to get out of debt even if it means foregoing some retirement plans that your employer is providing for you. And I disagree with him on that, but his sense is that getting out of debt is a mindset. Once you start that snowball running downhill, it grows in momentum. And he's big on getting completely out of debt. It takes 2 years to get out of debt except for your house. Okay, now what about investments? Homes are what? Bad investments. If you do a true ROI, return on investment, you'll find out for the most part they're bad investments. Offices are good investments up to a certain point. You do not want a Taj Mahal for an office. I used to have 6,000 square foot offices. Now they're all 2,200. You do not need a Taj Mahal to do your work. Assets, go into debt for assets, never go in for lifestyle. Most of you, within the sound of my voice now, need plastic surgery. You need to take out that credit card and cut it in half. Don't ever carry any balances on your credit card. Country clubs, don't do country clubs. It's the lifestyle. It's not the cost of the country club or the cost of the Mercedes. It's the cost of the lifestyle that goes with it. Well, my home, always get the shortest term loan that you can get on your home. So instead of a 30-year variable mortgage, which will let you buy a bigger house, you don't want the bigger house, you want to be able to pay it off in 15. Now there's 10-year mortgages that you can pay this thing off quick. Get yourself out of debt. Breaking the chains of debt, history of debt. Insurance started in London, Lloyd's of London. The shippers would go across and they would, if a ship didn't come back, then they could cover a ship owner's loss. When I was in dental school, my wife worked as a checker at Safeway, and I worked at Steak and Ale Friday nights and Saturday nights, and I sold shoes at Macy's on Saturday. And I learned that I could make more money at Macy's signing people up for credit cards. I said, would you mind doing me a favor and just filling out this credit application? I made more money doing that than selling shoes. So homes are not good investments. Your credit score is important. My guess most of you within the sound of my voice have a higher credit rating than I do. Why is that? I have no debt. And people with no debt don't have very good credit ratings. The truth about debt, credit cards versus debit. I don't own a debit card, but I don't know. There's advantages to either of them. You spend less when you use cash. I mentioned my wife and I had envelope system when we were first married. Most medical, dental, nursing, pharmacies get in trouble buying cars. They get too much car and never, ever lease a vehicle. Never. That's how dealerships make their money. They don't make money selling cars. They make money leasing cars. You can get into a real problem with leasing cars. Home equity loans. You can't get out of debt by borrowing more money. Co-signing a loan. Never, ever co-sign a loan. If you're co-signing a loan for your college roommate or whatever, it's because he doesn't have the credit to get the loan. And guess who's going to probably wind up paying that debt? It's going to be you. Dumping debt. Theoretically, no more than a quarter should go to house payments. Getting out of debt, you have to believe that you really need to do it, and you have to have hope that there is a way to do it. And Ramsey has a good course on that. And Warren Buffett's that I don't care what you think, and delayed gratification is an art we've lost in this country. Donate stuff you're not using, and what Ramsey calls the debt snowball. Once you start getting out of debt and that snowball's rolling downhill, it just gets bigger and bigger and better and better. So being debt-free changes your life. I've been debt-free at one point, and then I incurred a bunch of debt. Being out of debt is much better. So everybody's got to pay taxes, right? But you don't have to leave a tip. So file a very aggressive tax return. Get with your accountant and make sure you're deducting 100% of your cars, and always file. Well, there are two types of taxes. Income taxes. Einstein says hard thing to understand. Everybody knows what ordinary income is. You all pay taxes on ordinary income. There's also a thing called capital gains. So if you buy a stock for $1,000 and you sell it 10 years later for $2,000, you've got a 7.2% return on that. You're going to pay taxes on the $1,000 gain from what you originally put into it. Your basis is $1,000. You sell it for $2,000. You're going to pay taxes on the $1,000. Okay, that's capital gains. Generally, much more favorable rates. Transfer taxes. You can give money to other people up to a certain level. So you can gift to your kids or to anybody. You can gift up to $19,000 individually. So my wife and I can give each of our kids $38,000 each year. They don't need it. But you could give that amount to them every year without triggering a gift tax. Death taxes, estate taxes they call them. It's $15 million per person, so it'd be $30 million for my wife and myself. So always file your return late. Never file it on time. Never. Why? 80% of audits are done in the first 3 months of the year. And who does the IRS pick on? They pick on people who file their tax returns on time, because they're the easy prey. They generally don't have people that can fight them. So get an extension through September 15th, get a second extension through October. And I file a very, very aggressive tax return. Always file late. Okay, investing. This is all what you want to hear, right? What about investing? Okay, liquid assets, anything you can turn into cash within 30 days is considered liquid. So there's basically 3 types of liquid assets: cash, stocks, and bonds. Yeah, you can sell stocks and you can get out of it in 30 days. Which of those 3 is most risky? Cash, stocks, or bonds? Well, it depends on your time horizon. If you need to pay for a private school next Monday, the most risky asset is cash. Or excuse me, is stocks and bonds. The least risky is cash, because you absolutely have to have that money. So cash in a short time frame is probably the safest. How about long term? What is the riskiest? Cash is the worst investment you can have long term. Bonds are the second worst. And stocks are by far the least risky that you can have. And I'm going to prove it to you here in a minute. So fixed assets, income producing real estate, land, equipment. I love my equipment. And private equity. So those are all fixed assets. You hear at night, well, the Dow Jones went up this and that and the other. Now, I really pay no attention to any of these. I don't look at Dow Jones. I don't look at my assets or my portfolios. I manage my money all my own, and I've done it for years. Just don't bother to focus on those. If you're going to focus on it, look at the Standard & Poor's Index. That's the index that most people use. Standard & Poor's 500. The other one's the Dow Jones, that's big companies. But it's look at Standard & Poor's. And this chart, Roger Ibbotson did these studies. Now, you can see they invested $1 in 1926. If you invested in cash, that's $22. Bonds, $31 you'd have. Standard & Poor's Index is $11,000. And mid-cap stocks would be $49,000. So over the long term, particularly in your retirement plan, and you young people, oh my goodness, aggress very, very aggressively. This lets me sleep at night. And so if the market takes a 50% dive tomorrow, which I've lived through 4 of them, take a Valium, sleep well, don't worry about it. Because it always comes back. Now my friend, oh God, Fry, we got to get out. And they get out at the wrong time. When they get out at the bottom. And then when the market comes back, and it always does, it comes back very quickly. In 3 to 4 days, it shoots up and it's back about where it was. And they miss that. So just sit tight, think long term. So, as we said, stocks are a roller coaster. And if you get a queasy stomach, and most people, when they're on the roller coaster, if it takes a big dive, they bail out exactly at the wrong time. So Warren Buffett said it best. If you can't stand to see your stock holding decline by 50% without becoming panic-stricken, you should not be in the stock market. But if you think long-term, particularly with your retirement assets, you don't want to pull those out. Think long-term and don't bail out. Just sit there. You'll be rewarded handsomely. So short-term is market fluctuations. And so many money managers are focused on short-term market fluctuations, and that's the wrong thing to focus on. And the risk if you're in cash or bonds, they have very little fluctuation, but long-term you're going to have dramatically lower returns, as the Ibbotson study showed you. So, financial advisor. Who should be your financial advisor? Your college roommate, your brother-in-law? Who should manage your money? You should. At the very least, have a very clear understanding of your investment portfolio. Now, we just had a nice young lady from our church last night, and I convinced her that she could manage her own money. And Amanda was over there. She's put all of her assets now in very aggressive stocks at Vanguard. And she's promised me when it goes down 50%, she's not going to panic. But she's going to manage this all on her own. And I'm a certified financial planner. Technically, I'm not a fiduciary. I'm an associate financial planner because I don't manage other people's money. I don't want to manage yours. I manage my family's money, and that's it. I help other people manage their own money. My wife and I now do it as a hobby. It's great fun. So there's two types of financial advisors. One you're going to pay a fee to help you manage your money, and the other ones are going to do it for nothing, stockbrokers and insurance agents. Which of those do you want? You don't want the free one. They're going to sell you insurance products, and somehow they're going to get the money out of you. You want a fee-for-service broker to help you manage your money. And while I don't manage other people's money, if people choose not to manage their own money, then I try to put them with somebody that I trust, and I don't get any commissions, somebody that has their risk tolerance at heart. So I try to put them with somebody that I think will do a good job and not charge them. On the average, your broker's going to charge you 317 basis points. We're going to talk more about that here in a little bit. It's extortion. So this is a great book. You can buy it on Amazon for 12 bucks. Tony Robbins, you know, the guy that walks across hot coals. Buy that book and read chapter 2. That's all you got to do. The 12 bucks will be worth it. It'll tell you why you do not want your college roommate or your brother-in-law managing your money. They can legally tell you they're charging you 1% when they're really charging you 3.5%. So it tells you all the hidden fees that are in there. This is a great book. So here's the truth. The average cost to invest money is 317 basis points. Now, 1%, if they're charging you 1% to manage your assets, that's 100 basis points, right? 100 basis points. Most money managers, on average, are charging you 317 basis points. And they can look you right in the eye and say, we're charging you 1%. Legally, they can do that. There's all kinds of hidden fees and chicanery that goes on there. So a 3% fee, which is most of them are charging, will cost you 70% of your earnings over the cost of your life. If you got a retail broker managing your money, it's going to cost you several $1 million over the course of your life. 49% of the money managers don't put you in the stuff they're trying to sell you. Now, the Dalbar study in 2012 showed that Standard & Poor's in 2012 averaged 7.8%. Traditional money managers average 3.3% return. So it's 4.5% return if you're using a commercial broker. So again, here's Warren Buffett. He challenged a brokerage firm, any brokerage firm in the country, to beat the Standard & Poor's 500. Said if over a 10-year period, any financial broker in the company who can beat Standard & Poor's over a 10-year period, he will donate $1 million to their charity. And if they can't, they donate $1 million to his charity. There was only one in all of the United States that took that challenge. One brokerage firm said, yeah, because they believe their own rhetoric. Yeah, we beat the Standard & Poor's, and they do. Maybe 1 year, but they don't do it over a long period of time. So this one brokerage firm was convinced they could beat the Standard & Poor's index over a 10-year period. They threw in the towel, gave Warren Buffett his $1 million after 2.5 years. It was clear to them they could not beat the Standard & Poor's index. So, individual stocks and bonds, I own Berkshire Hathaway, and that's it. That's the only one I own. I am just totally enamored with low-cost, no-load, mutual indexed funds. So you can buy the same fund that your broker is going to charge you for, Standard & Poor's Index. They're charging you 317 basis points. You can get that same thing at Vanguard or Schwab for 15 basis points or less. Depends on how much money you put in it. If you got over $1 million, it's probably going to be 4% or 4 basis points. So what is a mutual fund? A mutual fund, a Standard & Poor's, or a total stock market. They take the total stock market and they develop a portfolio which mimics the total stock market. And then you ride that roller coaster with them all the way through. That's what an indexed mutual fund is. Warren Buffett says, he was asked one time, if people couldn't buy Berkshire Hathaway, what would you tell your family to do? Buy a no-load, low-fee index fund from Vanguard or Schwab. Okay, the rule of 72. When you're really trying to figure out if you're making money or you're not, you need to understand the rule of 72, and that rule is this. If you're getting 7.2% return on that investment, it will double every 10 years. The converse of that is if you're getting 10% return on your money, it'll double every 7.2 years. So you can really impress your banker. And you can do this with your home. You add up everything you've put into your home and you do a true ROI and see what you've really gained from that. Well, I doubled my money on my home. Yeah, but over what period of time? Over 30 years. That's a horrible investment. Horrible investment. Simplified to that is a rule of 8.8. If you're getting 8.8% return on your investment, it will double every 8.8 years. Just a good little thing. You can just do some fast math and you can figure out your ROI, return on investment. Okay, why do you students out there, why do you want to think about retirement now? When is the best time to start thinking about retirement? Yesterday. Yeah, you were close. Start thinking about your retirement now and taking plans to enhance your retirement. So many people don't realize that mountain climbing accidents, there's much more people injured and killed coming down the mountain after they've climbed the summit than going up. So you've worked hard, you've developed this nice nest egg, and many people just completely blow it with their retirement management planning. So what we're telling a lot of the charities my wife and I are working with now is we're trying to show them how to get people to give legacy gifts. And you have to understand that retired people really don't understand how to manage their money in retirement. Something you don't often see in a funeral procession. Well, if I can't take it with me, I ain't going. I'm planning on living to be 120. I'm investing that way. Theoretically, classic management principle is you should have your age in bonds, right? So I'm 77 years old. I know I don't look that old, and I appreciate you thinking that. But I should have 70% of my portfolio in bonds, right? How much do I have in bonds? Nothing, zero. I'm planning on living to be 120. So there's all kinds of retirement plans, and I don't have time. We could go into these if we had more time, but we just really don't have time. So I want you to focus on the Roth IRA, the one in the lower left-hand corner. That's the one you need to be into. A Roth IRA is one where you don't get the deduction now. You actually pay taxes on it. And I don't know what, it's like $7,000 a year or something like that. You can put that in, but you have to pay taxes on that $7,000. Why would you want to do that? If you developed it, put it in a traditional IRA, you could deduct the $7,000. Well, that money grows tax-free over the course of your life. Is that a message from on high? So it grows tax-free. And the beautiful thing about a Roth IRA, what we're going to learn here in a little bit, is traditional IRAs do not pass on to your heirs and scions well at all. The government taxes the bejesus out of traditional IRAs. This is one that you can pass to your kids, your grandkids, or to whomever you want. And the reason that's beautiful, they get it on a stepped-up basis. So they pay no taxes on that. Okay, retirement. Why do you want to think about your retirement plan now? So you can work because you want to and not because you have to, and you can retire comfortably and give generously. My wife and I are just having the best time. Our hobby now is giving away these assets we work so hard for. We live pretty frugally. We don't need this stuff. So we're giving away by beneficiary designations all of our retirement plans. So retirement. When is the best time to start your retirement plan? Yesterday. Never invade it, and think long term. In other words, don't worry about the fluctuations. Think out. Look at the Roger Ibbotson studies and think long term. Okay? So let's take two examples. Dr. Smith gets out of school, and he said, I'm starting my retirement plan right now. He puts $10,000 a year into his retirement plan at 8%, and he's contributed over 10 years $100,000. Right? You see that? Dr. Jones, I need a Mercedes. I'm going to start my retirement plan later. Right? So he waits to 35. He contributes $10,000 a year for 31 years, giving roughly $310,000 to his retirement plan. Who comes out ahead? It's not even close. At age 66 of retirement, Dr. Smith has $2.5 million, and Dr. Jones has a difference of $1.5 million in starting early. Our grandkids, we started IRAs for them when they were babies. Why? You put that money in when they're young. We had them employed by the office. We put them in TV commercials, and they'd sit there and kick their little feet in a TV commercial, and we could justify putting an IRA in their portfolio. So, hierarchy of investing. I said this before. HSA, if you don't have one, please get an HSA. You have to have major medical to get it, but that is the best investment plan you can have. It goes in tax-free and it comes out tax-free. Your retirement plan is second best, school savings plans, and then last, business and personal, that's fine. What can you expect? The magic of compound interest. Albert Einstein said the thing that amazed him most is the power of compound interest. It's the eighth wonder of the world. So I'm hiring. I'm going to hire you to work for me 30 days. I'm going to give you $1,000 a day. Pretty cool, right? So at the end of that 30 days, I'm going to write you a check for $30,000. Instead, I'm going to hire you 1 cent for the first day, 2 cents for the second day, and that compounds, and it doubles over that 30-day period. And at the end of 10 days, you have $5.12 that you have earned. At the end of that 30 days, you will have almost $11 million. That's the magic of compound interest. Now, you've worked for me 30 days. You should have one more question, and what is that? Can I work for you just one more day? Okay, let's listen to Dave Ramsey.
Compound interest is what we're talking about. It's a mathematical explosion. Einstein said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Now, compound interest is simply this. You take your money down to the bank. Let's take this $1,000, and we take it down to the bank, and we put the money in the bank. Now, you leave it there, and it earns interest, and you leave the interest there. The next year, you earn interest on the $1,000 and on the interest. The next year, you earn interest on the $1,000, on the interest, and on the interest, and you leave it there again. The next year, you earn interest on the $1,000, on the interest, on the interest, and on the interest, and then you leave it there again. That's what compound interest is. The trick with investing is you got to start, and you got to start right now. You got to get started. So we're going to get the $1,000 out of the way. We're going to get the emergency fund built as quickly as we can. We're going to get you out of debt, and then we're going to get you investing as fast as we can in these baby steps, because time needs to be on your side. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's look at Ben and Arthur for a minute. Ben starts saving money at 19 years old. He saves $2,000 a year. He does that all the way up until age 26. At age 27, you will notice Ben puts in zero. Say zero. At 27, he quits putting money in, but he's got the pump primed. The snowball is there. It's starting to roll down the hill, and every time it rolls over, it picks up more snow because it's a bigger ball each time it rolls over. Then his brother Arthur on the other side, he looks up and says, ooh, Ben's saving money. I need to save money. He starts saving money at age 27. Now, let's fast forward all the way to the end of the story at age 65 and see what happens. What happens is, at the end of the story, Ben has put in $16,000 and has ended up with $2,200,000. Arthur, who put in $78,000, only ends up with $1,500,000. The guy who put in $78,000 later ends up with $700,000 less than the guy who put in $16,000 earlier. Some of you are looking at that and going, that's a real nice chart if I was 19. Well, let me tell you this. If you're in here and you're under 25 years old and you grasp what I just showed you intellectually to the point that it drops from your brain into your heart and changes your behaviors, I just made you a multimillionaire. You shouldn't be allowed to graduate from college or high school without being able to explain that chart. It would change America if people understood that chart. So what are we going to do? Well, if you're under 25, I just gave you a hint. Some of you in here like me, you're like over 45. If you're over 45, raise your hand. You probably have a message for those in here that are under 25. You're probably wanting to say something to them like, do it. 1, 2, 3. Do it! Wow. Young people, did you hear the voice of regret? One lady said, am I too old to save money? Not if you're still sucking wind. It's not over until you quit. Colonel Sanders never fried any chicken until he was 67 years old. Started Kentucky Fried Chicken as a 67-year-old. Why? Because he couldn't live on a Social Security check. Grandma Moses never painted a painting until she was 85 years old. She did 1,500 works of art, 450 of which she did after age 100. A couple of summers back, my family and I was blessed to get to visit Rome, and one of the tours we went on was through the Vatican. And across the back wall of the Vatican is a thing about 3 times the size of this area. On the back wall, this masterpiece of the return of Christ at the end of times. And our tour guide told us that that was painted there by a 78-year-old Michelangelo. It's not over until you quit. But with this money stuff, it's a lot easier if you'll get started now. The sooner you start, the less it takes and the easier it is, because you establish that discipline, you establish that pattern in your life.
Oh, I guess that's it. Okay, so when's the best time to start thinking about your retirement plan? Yesterday. Now, my 95-year-old mother-in-law was at John Knox Village, and we'd go to visit her from time to time, and one of her neighbors, retirees, had this Corvette there. I said, now, that's the way I want to retire, right there, with a Corvette. But here she is. She just passed last summer, 95 years old, never been sick a day in her life. And she realized the next step was memory care, and so she said, I'm done. And she just checked out. Now, behind every successful man, the old saying goes, is a loving wife and an astonished mother-in-law. I was dumber than a bucket of hair the first 10 years of our marriage. But she finally became convinced that I could probably help her with her money and manage it better than she was getting. And she did. Well, later on in her life, she had a fairly sizable estate. And so she said to my wife, she said, I want you and Bob to have those IRA monies. And I said, Gigi, great-grandma, said, let's not do that. Let's do something which is much more fun. Let's have you donate that money now. Let's have you give with a warm heart instead of a cold hand. So there's a provision in the tax code called QCD, Qualified Charitable Distributions. And so we had her, the government in its wisdom at age 73 makes you take money out of your retirement plan. It's just so annoying. I don't want to do it, but I have to do it. Part of the tax code is QCD, Qualified Charitable Distribution, which lets you take $111,000 out of a retirement plan and donate it directly to the charity of your choice or charities. So she picked 8 of her favorite charities and started giving away all of her retirement assets instead of giving it to us. I'm going to tell you why it was a bad idea to give it to us here in a minute. So just bear with me. And the joy I saw from that 95-year-old lady in walking in and handing Heart to Heart International a check, it was profound. And so it kind of got Mary and me to thinking, how can we do something similar? We both maximize, we each give $111,000 to our designated charities now. But how else could we do it? So the question is, saving, how much is really enough? And so the old standard rule is 20, the rule of 20. If you need $200,000 a year to live, you need to save 20 times that, or $4 million. I like the rule of 30 better. So beware of hot tips. Hot tips have been discounted. You rarely make any money on hot tips. I used to hunt with a guy named John Wilson, who was a true Horatio Alger story. He was a baseball coach in the Boot Heel. And then he worked in summers for a little company called Par Electric. How many of you seen Par Electric trucks driving up and down the highway? He took that thing over and turned it into a trading on the New York Stock Exchange. And so I used to hunt ducks with him a lot, and so he gave me a hot tip on his company, Quanta S. So I went and bought Quanta S. Right in the toilet. Beware of hot tips. Beware of limited partnerships. You're going to find somebody come to you, man, I got this great idea. Limited partnership is 2 people. One is the partner with experience and no money, and somebody with money and no experience. And so you combine to do a joint venture. And at the end of that, the general partner has the money and the limited partner has the experience. Limited partnerships, that's what took Jack Nicklaus down. He got involved in some limited partnerships and he had to declare bankruptcy. They're coming after the most wealthy limited partnership in that deal, and they came after him. Never buy annuity life insurance or whole life insurance. For some reason, medical and dental professionals are enamored with getting in the restaurant business. It's vicious. You do not want to get in the restaurant business. It's the surest way to know to lose your undershorts. That what you do not understand. One of my residents at North Carolina took all of her retirement money and put it in ethanol. Oh, Heidi, why in the world would you do that? And of course, went right in the toilet. The old saying, if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. Other people's money, OPM it's called. You hear radio ads. You can use other people's money to invest in real estate. Let me show you how you do that. I've made millions over the years using other people's money to buy real estate, and I churn these things like crazy. The problem with OPM is eventually the OP want their M. Dave Ramsey had to declare bankruptcy because of OPM. He borrowed too much money. Whenever somebody wants you to invest in something, the first question you got to ask is, how do I get out? My friend in Ithaca, New York, who introduced me to Warren Buffett, was a real estate mogul, and he wanted me to invest in his group. And I said, Bob, how do I get out of this? Well, this is not the kind of investment you want to get out of. Buy. Beware of doing business with friends. Boy, I made that mistake one too many times, and you can lose a really good friendship over that. And always beware of your lying classmates. Hi, Bob, CW. Yeah, I think I'm going to quit orthodontics. Yeah, I bought a mattress factory. Really? Yeah, Bob, you want to do it with me? No. So next year, Hi, Bob, CW. CW, how's the mattress right? Well, you know what? I sold that thing. Translation, he lost his rear end. Now he's buying some other thing. Beware your lying classmates. Somebody suggested I invest with this surly bunch of deadbeat ne'er-do-wells back in the 1980s, and I looked at that group and oh my God, who in the world would invest money with that bunch of deadbeats? Well, that was Bill Gates and Microsoft, another one of my brilliant financial moves. So, here's my estate plan. I want to disinherit the IRS. I'm going to disinherit my kids, and they know it. They've got plenty of money. They don't need my money. Now, some of our assets, they really should inherit something that can come to them on a stepped-up basis, but they know once I'm dead that they're to sell those assets and donate it to charity. If they don't, I'm coming back for them. But most everything else, we're giving away to charity now. And I'm disinheriting my wife. She doesn't need my money. I don't need hers. And we're doing it intentionally. So what's the best way to give away assets? Wills and trusts? Yeah, you got to have a will. You got to have a trust. Community foundations, donor advisor funds. We were one of the first 50, I think, to join the Greater Kansas City Community Foundation back in 1985. We wanted early on for our kids to understand the joy of giving back. And my daughter is giving back a little bit too much, I think. But that's that. So we're now focused, my wife and I, on beneficiary designations. If you take you that have a retirement plan, I'm going to beg you, please go home and check your beneficiary designations on all of your assets. I'm in the biz, and mine were screwed up, and I didn't realize it. Be sure you understand where your assets are going, and get your beneficiary designation straight out, primary and secondary beneficiaries. So we're now getting rid of all of our retirement assets by beneficiary designations. We've identified 23 charities we're supporting, and that's kind of our hobby now. We're going around and presenting this to smaller charities and bigger ones, UMKC, as Amanda said. We're doing it and kind of show them how you can get people that are reluctant donors. You give them this list of estate planning documents. You show them this is what an estate plan looks like. This is a checklist for getting your estate in order. What are most folks going to do? Nothing. That's what they're going to do. And so our message is focus on getting people to give beneficiary designations, get into their retirement plans, and have them leave 1% to UMKC or 1% to the dental school or whatever. No lawyers, a 10-minute phone call, and it's all reversible. That's how you get people started giving. And that's our message to our 23 charities that we're supporting. It's low-hanging fruit. So estate planning. Protect your assets, of course. And here's the reason you don't want to give your heirs and assigns your retirement plan. It's called the triple tax. If you give them an IRA, it's very difficult for them to get much out of it. The government's going to take 70% of that, and they're going to get 30%. It's called triple tax. So retirement assets are very poor assets to pass on to your heirs and assigns. The Roth IRA is the exception to that. The Roth IRA, they can inherit that. And then my kids are going to blitz that and donate it to charity. Educational funding is a good way to do it. You can do that, and never, ever let anybody talk to you doing anything offshore. Employees, investment money. Several prominent medical dental professionals are now living in a gated community because they invested stuff offshore. Your financial plan, remember, is not a microwave. It's a crock pot. You do it slowly over the years. You keep pouring ingredients into this thing. And before you know it, it's going to start out very slow. And you're going, oh, it's going to take forever to cook. And then all of a sudden you have this wonderful stew that you've worked very hard to do. Okay, now I'm putting this QR code up there again. Please take another picture. And please, 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 for Dr. Norbash and myself, please give us an evaluation of what you thought of this talk. And more importantly, what you would like to see in addition to stuff like this. What do you want in addition to that? What business information do you want to have? I'll leave it up there for a second. Guys, we're about 7 minutes ahead of schedule. Yes! That's what you get when you start on time. Okay, everybody got that? Please, 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 give us an advice. I've been married 55 years. I take criticism very well. So be brutal in your assessment. I grew up in Independence, Missouri, and I did walk to school. I went to Palmer Junior High. I walked both ways uphill, of course. I was 9/10 of a mile away. You had to live a full mile away in order to get to ride the bus. But I didn't, so I walked to school. And it didn't happen every time, but every time I walked by to Palmer Junior High School, I walked by this ominous, awful-looking house. And 3 or 4 times in that 2-year period, this elderly gentleman would be walking, and he would stop me and talk to me. Young man, how are you doing? I'm fine. Are you doing well in school? Yes, I lied. Okay, keep up the good work. And in the winter, he'd drive by in his Dodge. And so we didn't have a TV until 1960, a little bitty old black and white, and I could not wait to get home to watch the TV. And all they had on was three channels then. All they had was boring speeches. I said, Mom, come here, come here, come here. I was so disgusted with the speeches. And then this guy that stopped and talked to me shows up on the TV. Yes, Bobby, that's Harry Truman. Who? Harry Truman. He was president of the United States. Oh, what's for dinner? So, and I later learned he killed hundreds of thousands of people. And a little known bit of trivia, Harry Truman got his doctorate at University of Missouri, Kansas City. So my biggest financial mistake is not following my own advice. So the secret to happiness is pretty simple, really. It's really gratitude. And so I'm going to make a plea. Please, while you're in school, please appreciate what you've got here. This is a world-class institution. And stay in touch with your Rue family. Everybody, Rue up. Okay. And remember what got you there. Your time, talent, and treasure. I'm not asking for money now. I know you're all broke. But you can get involved now. Just take some of Amanda's stuff. You can do little things now to stay involved and stay with it. Dean Norbash can surely find something for you to do. Gratitude. Secret to happiness is gratitude. So I try to put myself in situations where I really feel gratitude. We take our heavy equipment down to tornado sites. I've been to Moore, Oklahoma, and Joplin, and places in Kansas, and we take our machines down there and help people tear down their homes. And it's tragic. My daughter was in Tulane during Katrina. She was a Katrina baby. We went down there and spent a week in the 9th Ward tearing Miss Rosa's house down. I said, Miss Rosa, how are they going to rebuild this thing? She said, honey, I've got no idea. Put yourself in situations that make you feel grateful. We do a lot of work with Missouri Disabled Sportsmen. These are people, kids, women, men, that are strapped to wheelchairs. You think you're having a bad day, hang around them for a while. I said earlier, my daughter's in the Mother Teresa business. We had a chance to spend 10 days with Mother Teresa in India in 1996, right before she passed away. And my daughter was still in high school then, so it made a big impression on her, so she really and truly is in the Mother Teresa business. And she gives back, but she gives everything back. So, and it was an experience like no other, as you can imagine. Everything Mother Teresa touched. Look at this little kid, bilateral cleft, never a chance she's going to get that fixed, but look how that kid is dressed. I saw this lady in Mother Teresa's dental clinic receive an apico and endo on number 9 with no anesthesia. This guy has terminal leprosy. It's not contagious. Most everybody think it is. He may not have had any human contact in years, but he's terminal. So when we were there, Queen, 2 members of the Queen rock band were there. The guy in the white was the drummer. The guy to his left in the blue shirt was the lead guitarist. This is after Freddie Mercury died. Freddie Mercury, you may recall, is from India. And they were there celebrating something the same with Mother Teresa at the same time we were there. So Queen with the Queen, my daughter Whitney. So Dr. Lupke there in the back, the guy in the white coat was the drummer. He was in his second year of dental school when he dropped out of dental school and went on his career path with Queen. So, all right. Gratitude is the secret to happiness. I'm very grateful for your kind attention. I'm grateful for this wonderful university and for this great country. And so that is the end. So, oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we're going to take a 10-minute break to adjust our undergarments. And then I'm here if we have questions from, are we going to be able to get questions from the people on Zoom? Oh, a chat box, okay. Well, go out and take a 10-minute break, come back. If there's any questions, I have no pressing social engagements. Okay, yeah, okay. Oh, you bet, you bet. They wanted me to take this thing off.
is from Anna. She has a two-part question. She would like to ask you, what are your thoughts on high-yield saving accounts?
On what?
High-yield saving accounts.
Is that like, I don't know what that is. Is that like from a bank or something?
Yes.
Yeah, no, you don't want to do that. Get your money out and get it invested, get it. You're not going to get any kind of return from a bank, even if they're giving you 3 or 4%. They're going to tie your money up for a long period of time. Get it out. So the young lady we met with last night, she finally got convinced to open a brokerage account at Vanguard. Instead of she had $14,000 in cash sitting in her bank in a CD. I said, you don't really want it there. But it's a big move for her to move all that money at one time. So she took 10 of it and put it in a brokerage account at Vanguard. And last night, before she left, she had it invested in the total stock market. They got her all set up with her retirement plans, Roth, and a brokerage account, all in one sitting.
She has one more question. Thank you for that, Dr. Fry. The second question is, what is your advice for people who have no clue about the stock market but want to get started investing? Are there books or crash courses that are helpful?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of courses. Take the Ramsey course. That's a good one. That'll get you bound. And there's all kinds of courses available for you from stockbrokers, from financial managers. They want to come and have you exposed to them. And you can learn. I went to a bunch of those courses when I was a resident. And in fact, I took one from the ADA yesterday just to see what I was missing. I took a course from the American Dental Association on financial management. And it was very well done, by the way. So just go to all kinds of free courses. You can, and there are courses you can pay for too. People that, investment courses. I did a lot of those. I spent a lot of money trying to learn how to manage my money. And finally, the light goes on, wait a minute, this isn't that difficult. I can do this myself.
Thank you, Dr. Fry. The next question is from Lisa. She says, hello, Dr. Fry. I know how important it is to start an HSA and a Roth IRA. However, could you tell us how to go about it? Most of us are taking out loans entirely. How do we start that while in grad school with debt and loans?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And we didn't have a Roth, we didn't have an IRA when we had gobs of student debt either. But if you're employed, if you and or your spouse are employed and you can set aside any money and just get started with something, even if it's just a small amount. Do it with a low-cost brokerage firm like Vanguard or Schwab. I have no interest in those, by the way. So.
The next question, Dr. Fry, is what are the best tips to ensure I'm not living above my means and saving money instead of spending it?
What are the benefits of living within your means?
What best tips would you give to ensure that I'm not living above my means?
Well, the barometer for that is you're living above your means if you don't have some money left over to save and put in retirement.
Very true, Dr. Fry. Thanks. Michael asks you, what are your recommendations for those who have a Roth IRA but may likely be above the income limit following graduation?
They already have an IRA, but they're above the income limit. So this is somebody with a pleasant problem. Yeah, if you're above an income limit, you're limited about what you can put in an IRA. So if you max out your Roth IRA, you're good. So I don't get into another plan, get into a retirement plan, like a defined benefit plan, where you can put away $50,000, $100,000, $150,000 a year. If they're that well off, sock it away. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Fry. Next question is from Lisa. She's asking you, for students who are graduating with $500K to $700K in loans, what repayment strategy do you think makes the most sense early in our careers?
I've given this course twice now at MU, and the first question is, what do I do with my student debt? And the answer is, I don't know. I wish we had, at Fry Orthodontics, we're working on ways to incorporate, roll up some of our associates' student debt in some form that they can deduct the interest on what they're paying for it. It's real tricky to do that. I've done it a couple times before, and it's quite tricky. But for the most part, it depends on how you have your student debt. If it's at a very low interest rate, don't pay it off. I guess Ramsey would disagree with me on that. If it's a very low interest rate, but don't take the extra money and go out and buy a Mercedes. You know, if you have money left over, pay off your student debt. I paid mine off well in advance of when it was due.
Actually, that's a follow-up question. Her second question is, should new dentists start investing immediately after graduation, even if they have significant student loans?
Yeah, get started with your retirement plan and balance. Now, Dave Ramsey would disagree with me on this. He's going to say, get out a loan, your student loans, everything but the house. And he says it changes your mental awareness. And I don't disagree with that. But if you have an employer that's going to give you a 401k and they're going to contribute part of it, don't miss that. And let them contribute part to your retirement plan and put as much in as you can afford. Now, when we were very young, new in practice, my wife just thought somebody was going to knock me down and stuff my pockets full of cash. And it doesn't work that way. You know, so I got into a defined benefit plan, which means we took less income and put a whole lot more in a retirement plan when we lived in a little bitty old tiny 1,400 square foot house. And she thought that was very inappropriate. We're still married, and now she's happy that we did that. But, you know, start saving early as much as you possibly can.
Thank you, Dr. Fry. The last question is from Kayla. As someone interested in practice ownership in the future, I'm curious about your path. How did you go about opening your first orthodontic practice? What strategies helped it become successful early on? And how did you decide when to expand to additional locations?
When I fished in North Carolina, 1977, I had a new baby on my hands. I actually joined a group. There were 3 of us in the group, Radke, Hoffman, and Fry. And Dr. Hoffman, who, by the way, just passed away yesterday, the middle guy in our group, it was very sad. He was a good guy, and the senior guy passed away a couple of years ago, Radke. But we had a three-part group. Dr. Hoffman decided to leave. He got sick of me after 5 years, and he left. And then Dr. Radke and I decided to split the sheets 10 years into our partnership. We had a very good partnership, but it was very stressful to go out on your own, but it's well worth it. And I would recommend, there's no debtor's prison in this country. So, you know, just don't borrow excessively and get your office set up and just work your tail off. You have to do a lot of things, and you have to make your practice appealing. In our practice, I want Fry Orthodontics to be the highlight of every Mother's Day that walks through our door. We want to serve them premium coffee. We want to have a vibrator chair. We want to have a chair back there where they can come back and watch and ask questions and be involved in the hoopla. We want, what is your market? Our market, we think, is rushed, stressed, uncertain, and a lot of unfulfilled moms. And we want Fry Orthodontics, we set up to be, that visit to be the highlight of their day. And that's how we market ourselves. The biggest thing we did to market Fry Orthodontics was to run on time. That's why I insisted we start this thing on time today. When we made the commitment to run on time, it caused us to change everything. We had to go through and redo everything. And we run on time, and we can prove it. We applied for the Malcolm Baldrige Award, the state version of it, and we won it, the highest ranking you can get for the state Kansas Award for Excellence. And we had the judges come out, and I said, what impressed you most of all? The fact that you run on time and you can prove it. And we do. Moms don't want to sit around an office and, you know, they want to be included in the process. It's a long-winded answer, sorry, but, you know, several seminal moments. Running on time was a big one for us. That really forced us to change everything. On practice, daily, for each visit and over the course of treatment, running on time.
Thank you, Dr. Fry. Kayla has one more question. Would you recommend buying a practice from a retiring dentist if you can, or would you recommend starting from scratch?
I still think Well, she's talking about dentistry or medicine or,
I think
dentistry, yeah.
she talked
Again,
about
there's no
dental.
debtor's prison in this country. All my residents in orthodontics, I still think the best approach is to go out and open your own office. Now, if you just, but they're so far in debt. Some of my residents were in debt $750,000, orthodontic residents, and they have, Ramsey's right, that creates severe mental damage. You can't think right if you're in debt $750,000. But going out and getting more debt and opening up your own office is still, in my humble opinion, the best way to do it.
Would you recommend buying a retiring dentist?
Sure, yeah, that's always a good option. Those, a lot of times don't work out though. Partnerships, buying in, a lot of times don't work, especially father and son, father-daughter. It's two problems. The senior guy won't or can't let go, and the junior doc won't work. Those two things cause most of those things to fail. So if you find somebody who's really compatible, to get along well, and don't enter a partnership with somebody who's 45, 50 years old thinking they're ready to retire. Every 45, 50-year-old dentist, doctor is ready to retire. They're going to tell you that, and then they don't. So don't believe them when they tell you they're ready to retire. So if you find somebody that's ready to retire and you're compatible, that's always a good option.
Thank you, Dr. Fry. Does anybody here have any questions?
I'd like to comment.
Dr. Fry, thanks again. And is exactly the type of advice that we need to continue to talk to our students in all the health science district in regards to, one, the business aspect. We do a great job, okay, teaching primary dental care or primary care in medicine. We do a great job in teaching specialty medicine, right? Or specialty in orthodontics or periodonty, dentistry, but we don't do a good job teaching how to manage it.
Nobody does.
Yes.
No, nobody does.
And we put them out there. And it's almost,
Yes.
it's actually in some ways, you're responsible for some of us to do that. And I used to say, the 3 care we must teach is that. The 3rd care is how to manage it. And we don't do a great job in doing that. So thank you again for your wisdom. And we need to have more conversations. Oftentimes, yeah, everybody can listen to a podcast, okay? And yes, we can take David Ramsey. But having conversation, having mentorship is so crucial. So really appreciate you here today.
Well, again, thanks to Dr. Norbash, and I mean this all sincerity, for him to have foresight and for all of you that are on that committee to design this. I applaud you. Please get that done.
Any other questions from anyone here? Before I give the mic to Dr. Norbash, I do have a comment too. What I felt really touched home was the fact that you've lived through these instances, these lessons that you've learned from life, and some of these you've applied, some of them that you didn't apply, you were honest enough to tell us, how you didn't take your own advice. I think that rings home. That's something you can understand and something you can work on. Like we were hearing from Dr. Sun, if it's all about just reading somewhere, reading a book, listening to a YouTube video or a podcast, you listen to it, but you won't absorb it the way you would when it comes from experience and life anecdotes and what you went through. It clearly is a better teaching method that I learned a bunch of new things today from your lecture, so thank you.
Well, would you like an 8 or 10 hour lecture on mistakes I have made? I could fill that time easily.
So I'm an interventional cardiologist, and the first thing my mentors told me was, you learn from other people's mistakes. I'll be happy to do that.
Yeah.
Again, Dr. Fry, let me thank you on behalf of the medical school for all that you do for us and all you've been doing for this past 2 or 3 years as a curator. It's just been incredible. We like having you as an advocate. We trust you. We appreciate your wisdom. And this is a great opportunity for us to learn from you also. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. This is my hobby, and my wife and I have a new saying, finish strong. And that's really what we want to do. We're going out and we're trying to share what we've learned, particularly about beneficiary designations and giving away money. We're speaking at the Kaufman Center, and we just did one at UMSL. We're doing one at Thompson Center over is coming up. And we get a big kick out of that. It's a joy to give money away. It's hard work, oh my gosh. But it is a joy to give generously. So,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, my pleasure. Thank you all for
Is
coming.
there a way to get the handout? Like for the people that were on Zoom, is there a way that we could get the handout that was given if you came in person?
From the foundation or the handouts that I sent?
Either or all?
Okay, well, those were supposed to have been sent out. Yes, the answer is yes. We will make that happen. Somehow you're going to have to contact who? Melissa Johnson or, Melissa, are you on this?
So I received an email this afternoon that had about 9 attachments on it. The attachments were yours, and that was part of a mass mailing. Did you receive it? Did anybody else
Oh, you
receive
didn't?
it? You did. Did you receive it, ma'am?
Did I receive what?
The handout with the 9 attachments this afternoon?
I did not.
You did not, okay.
Okay,
So
well.
we will resend those out.
Yeah, let's resend them, because I sent out a gob of attachments, lecture notes, and interesting articles and stuff like that, so we'll send them out again.
If you're on this call and if you're asking the question, please send me norbash@umkc.edu, norbash@umkc.edu. Send me an email asking for a copy of those, and I'll be able to do that. But otherwise, we're going to try to distribute to everybody who's participating tonight. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, we're out 13 minutes early.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.